welcome back to another episode of the Grateful Redhead podcast. I'm Angie Ringler, your Grateful Dead loving host, and I must say I am so excited to have my guest today, Erica, because about 11 years ago, I was at this really cool wellness center in my town, and I saw this book. It was about being naked. And I was so intrigued by it. And of course I had to buy it. And by the way, this show is not about being naked. And as you can see, we are not naked. And if you're listening to this audio, we are definitely clothed today. But I'm happy to have Erica on the show because she is so multifaceted. And her and I really jive in a lot of ways when it comes to sustainability and really trying to live our life a little bit gentler on the planet while being super kind to ourselves. So today it's really just going to be a very organic conversation between her and I, because that's really how it goes. We just have a lot to talk about, and I'm really want to showcase what she's got going on today because, and I'm going to have her share with you, but she's got some amazing stuff that is taking place around the world as well. So don't let me toot her horn any further. I'm going to let Erica introduce herself and share with her a little bit about what she's doing. So Erica, take it away. Tell us who you are, what your background is, and kind of what brought you up to what you're doing today.
Okay. First of all, let me just say thank you, Angie, for having me on your show. And the respect is totally mutual. And much like you, Angie, I've been watching your personal and professional life evolve. You know, we're always evolving beings. And the same thing's been happening for me with my business. So I'm gonna start by giving a little bit of backstory about how I got to where I am today and the evolution I'm currently going through. So about 20 years ago.
That would be great.
Yeah. So about 20 years ago, I was asked to create a comprehensive rehabilitation program for homeless adults. And with that program, I was basically teaching. I started with homeless adults, but then I started working with abused women and recovering addicts. And then the demographic that I was working with just continued to expand. And eventually I was working with men and women from all walks of life and all ages. And ultimately, what I was teaching was about self-love, really getting to know ourselves. Who are we? What do we want? Like, what's our purpose in life? Why do we do the things that we do? Why do we behave the way that we behave? And there was a lot about emotional intelligence, a lot of forgiveness work, a lot of heart opening work, and a lot about communication and relationships. So my background, my degree is in communication. And so it was really kind of like a whole life reset, but it came from the perspective of an education. Like, let's become educated on who we are and how we tick as human beings. And this is an education we were never given. This is stuff we were never taught in school about the impact our emotions have on us and how to be in a relationship. I mean, most people have never had a communication skills class of any kind, right? So that's kind of where it started. And so a lot of personal development work. And while I was putting these programs together and teaching these programs to all of these different people, of course, naturally, I was going through this whole awakening of my own. And my life really started to change. And shortly after creating that program for this homeless shelter, I ended up going through a yoga teacher training. And then I started teaching yoga. And all of the personal development work that I had been doing and life coaching work that I had been doing with people for years started to marry with the yoga, the heart-centered yoga that I was teaching. And so I created a yoga teacher training program, a school called Empath Yoga. It's very heart-centered, very intuitive. And then, so that was one evolution. So one evolution was leaving the legal field. You and I have something similar in that. Like, I was a paralegal in my previous life. Leaving the legal field.
I didn't know that about you.
I didn't know that either until you and I spoke yesterday. So previous life, that's what I did. Then I was working at the shelter for homeless families and working with abused women and recovering addicts. And then I became a yoga teacher, and I had a yoga studio for a period of time, started doing yoga teacher trainings. And then I continued to evolve. Right around that time, I published my book, the one that you're talking about. I think it was just a few years after having my yoga studio. And the book was called Showing Up Naked. And it's really a metaphor for living so authentically and honestly and freely that it's like we're showing up naked. And so,
yeah, and you did show up. I don't mean to interrupt you, but that picture on the cover was amazing of you. And I know you have since changed the cover, but it was a gorgeous picture of you, like pretty much naked on the cover in a yoga pose.
I was naked, but sitting in a way that you couldn't really see anything. So it was also discreet.
Correct.
And, I remember when I came out with that book cover, I contacted my parents and I said, I just wanted to let you know that the book cover's been done and I want to prepare you for this because I am naked on it, because the book was called Showing Up Naked and there's a reason why I picked that title. But and I can get into that in a minute. But so I called my parents and said, I wanted you to be prepared for this. I just emailed you a picture of the cover. Don't freak out, fully expecting them to be like, what are you doing? And my dad calls and he says, wow, it's beautiful. It's really tasteful. Totally shocked me. So I got a lot of great compliments on that book cover, but it was also really confronting for a lot of people. The title and just the fact that there was a nude image on the front really triggered.
Yeah, it grabbed me. I mean, immediately, like you are grabbed and it does speak to you in more than just like, oh, the word naked, like it is showing up naked. Yeah. I mean, it's a profound kind of sentence.
It really is. A friend of mine, a psychologist friend of mine said to me, because this was many years ago and I was kind of bemoaning the fact that I had not yet found a partner that could really be in a relationship with me authentically, like really open and authentically. And he said, what you're really looking for is somebody who is going to show up naked. And I was like, that's absolutely right. I want someone that's going to be so authentic and so open and real and free that we can relate on that level with each other. And so that was the inspiration behind the book cover and the title. And so then fast forward a little bit further into my professional career. And I have been organizing and leading yoga retreats and yoga travel around the world. I started with a couple of retreats in Costa Rica, and then I brought people to Bali and Sedona. Sedona was actually the only one that was here in the United States so far, but Greece and Tuscany and the south of France. We've been to Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia. I mean, we just kept going. So for the last 15 years, I really kind of delved into this travel piece. But all the while, in the background, I've had this passion for sustainable living and permaculture. So I went through a permaculture training, which is really about sustainable systems at home, like sustainable homesteading is a good way of looking at it. So I went through that training. You know that for the last 10 or 15 years, I've been experimenting with DIYing my own products like skincare and things like that. And so behind the scenes, I have all this professional stuff that I've been doing, but behind the scenes, I've had this passion for sustainable living. And I used to have meetups where people would come to my house and everyone would bring some DIY product that they had created, whether it was a yoga mat cleaner or hand soap or whatever. And so recently I was thinking about it because a friend of mine said, it seems like you're really all over the place, because I have like 8 domain names. I got showingupnaked.com, which goes to the book and the life coaching program. I have Empath Yoga, which goes to the yoga page. I have International Yoga Travel, which goes to my yoga travel page. And then I have ericaboucher.com, which, also goes to like the homepage of the website. And so recently I was thinking about what it is that I love writing about and talking about, and what it is that I'm organically doing and thinking about in my day-to-day life. And I realized that everything really falls under the umbrella of sustainability and sustainable living. So if you look at our habits, it's about these habits sustainable, whether it's what we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're doing when we wake up in the morning. Are these habits sustainable? It's about how we show up in our relationships. is this a sustainable relationship? Am I showing up in this relationship in a sustainable way? Am I conducting my business in a sustainable way? And I really started bringing the sustainability piece even into the travel that I've been doing, talking a lot about and focusing a lot on sustainable travel and what that looks like. And so really a question that I'm always asking myself, and you can ask my partner, Brian, this is something I'm always saying to him, like, is this sustainable? Or if I say to him, this is not sustainable, that means we have to rethink the way that we're doing this, whatever this might be. It could be any number of things, the way that we're caring for our animals, you know? And so for me, that is the big umbrella that kind of ties together everything that I'm doing. So I just recently started transitioning my website, the domain, everything to sustainable travel yogi. And so we're right in the middle of that taking place, like as we speak, like that's happening in the background. All of those other pages still go to my website. empathyoga.com still takes you to my website. Showingupnaked.com still takes you to my website. International Yoga Travel still takes you to the website. So the point is, this is like the latest incarnation or the latest evolution. It's like the next step, or Erica 2.0, right. I guess you could call it.
That's like at the beginning when I said you're a multifaceted person, and that's how I've always known you, is to be in these different arenas. Look, I have traveled to all those great places through you. I love watching, the pictures that you guys would share, and, we have some mutual friends and they would post their amazing pictures. Like, you do have a lot of these very cool facets to you. So I'm not surprised that you have linked them together with this thread of sustainability and are now finding this new way to share that with the people around you. So what is that showing up like for you, through your business? Are you focusing really on the travel more, or are you going to spread that out a little bit? Because I know you do have some trips coming up.
So I would say 80% of my energy is focused on the travel pieces right now, like putting these trips together, because I know that for me, the biggest life-changing experiences I ever had were when I started exploring personal development, like when I really started doing the personal development work. That changed my life. When I got involved with yoga, that changed my life. And the travel piece changed my life. And so I kind of look at it as I went from the micro, the self, to the macro. Like, okay, this is who I am within myself. And then looking at this is who I am in my relationships. And now it's who am I in the world? How am I showing up in the world? And so most of what I'm focusing on is focused around travel and giving people these amazing experiences around the world in a sustainable way, like really keeping that in our awareness. How are we showing up? How are we being good ambassadors of the United States? Are we showing up and are we being kind? Are we being compassionate? Are we representing our home country well? Are we littering and throwing plastic in the street? Are we walking around with plastic bottles and then, just leaving that behind?
And a lot of it, I feel, comes through your mindfulness, right, of these trips that you plan. So share with me a little bit about the excursions and the things that you do have planned when you make these trips, besides the yoga. I know you do yoga classes while you're there.
We usually do yoga every morning before breakfast. I used to call them yoga retreats and then decided that was misleading because I don't want to go and go to a beautiful place in Greece or Bali and then sit in a retreat center the whole time. Like, I want to experience the place, right? So now it's yoga travel. And so, for example, we have a couple of trips coming up. One big one is a Rhine River yoga cruise that's taking place next year. And it starts in Basel, Switzerland. And we will have stops in Germany, France and Germany, and then we will end in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Yeah. And what's beautiful about these river cruises is they really are a wonderfully sustainable way to travel. It's not like ocean cruises. They don't have the same impact on the environment that an ocean cruise does. And they're much smaller. So you might have thousands of people on an ocean cruise, but on a river cruise, you've got about 150. And so,
man, I better check this trip out that you got. I have always wanted to do one of those river cruises. You know, when I've been to the locations you were talking about, and you see those ships go down the river, and you just know they're having a very intimate experience because they're not like those big cruise ships. So, I'm definitely going to go check that out. But do tell, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. Well, this is my third yoga cruise that I will be hosting. So we did the Mekong River, where we went to Vietnam and Cambodia. And we did the Danube that started in Budapest and ended. We went through 5 countries on that trip. We ended with an excursion in Prague. Amazing experience. But on all of these, including the one that's coming up, this is the next one. The Rhine River Yoga Cruise is August of 2022, so next summer. And what's beautiful about that is you could be as active as you want to be. So we'll be doing some hiking. We'll be doing some biking. So we start with yoga. We have wonderful food. And then we're off to explore however we want. I mean, there's choices with regards to what you want to do for the excursions. And then we end up back on the boat, and incredible food, it's a culinary delight. and there's free flowing wine and beer with lunch and dinner. And I'm not one of those strict people that feels like if you're a true yogi, you don't eat meat, you don't drink, you don't wear leather, you don't wear toenail polish, you know what I mean? Like, there could be a whole long list of things that you're not supposed to do, quote unquote, if you're a yogi. And I just don't subscribe to that thinking. I think everyone is where they are on the path, and everyone evolves organically, like I have, like you have, like we're following our hearts, and we're being true.
And you can't be shamed in that moment of where you are. I mean, it doesn't help us to evolve to the next point when people are, shaming us because of something that we're doing that we shouldn't be doing.
Right. No, it doesn't. Like, that just shuts you down. And it definitely doesn't help people to continue to open and expand and evolve. So that is one trip, and I've got groups going to Greece, and I'm working on an African safari and a trip to Tahiti.
Oh my gosh,
and my intention with this is to really help us to recognize that everyone on the planet is a brother or a sister, and that the world is our playground. And there's a way for us to be in the world that's loving, compassionate, accepting, connected, and also conscious and responsible, right? That it's possible to travel and do it in the most responsible and sustainable way possible. And that's my goal.
Yeah. And you're right. We are all connected. I mean, why we think that, we do something in the waterways in one part of the world that's not going to affect the other. We do something in our air. There are no walls. We humans are the only ones that build these walls on the land to keep each other separated. So, I know for me, when I go and visit other cultures and really get outside of what I would consider my own bubble here, I always grow in some way. I have some new appreciation I didn't know existed. I have some new understanding that I didn't even know existed within myself. And part of the times I didn't even realize I felt a certain way until I was given the opportunity to see something else in another culture. And I feel like that only comes from getting outside of where you live. Now, maybe we're not all fortunate to be able to travel that way or can afford to travel that way, but there are certainly so many great avenues. I mean, for me, I'm kind of a YouTube addict when it comes to watching travel videos and anything about the earth and nature. Like, they say your brain doesn't even know the difference, whether you physically have that experience or whether you're just having that experience in your brain. So it's almost like you can trick your body in a way to have those experiences without even leaving your couch, so to speak, which obviously isn't the best way to do it. If you can get out of your own way and get out of your own home and your country, then by all means take that. But to be able to enjoy the technology for those purposes to me is the amazing part of where we are in technology today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're so much more connected. At least we have the ability technologically to be so much more connected than ever before. I'm still in communication with people that I met 15 years ago in the Philippines or 10 years ago in Bali. Like that's what's beautiful about it. And I really do think of myself as a citizen of the world, even though my home is the United States and this is where I was born, like this is my home country, but I'm a citizen of the world. And like you, I want to break down all of those barriers and see that, because we learn so much from each other. I learned so much from my travels. I really do. And that's my wish for people. My wish for people is first, fall in love with yourself, like remove whatever's in the way of your relationship with yourself. Let's work on that. Let's peel those layers away so that we get down to the core naked truth of who we are. And yoga is a wonderful tool for all of that. Like yoga gives us a relationship with our bodies. It heightens our self-awareness, and it helps move stuck energy out of our systems, out of our bodies. So yoga is a beautiful, amazing tool that I always come back to over and over and over again. It's always going to be a part of my life. And then the travel piece, like throwing our hearts and our arms open and saying, I want to experience all of it and see all of it.
Yeah, every time I do yoga, I feel amazing afterwards. And I don't know whether it's a self-sabotage thing, for me, that I don't do yoga every day, but I want to do it. I guess maybe it's an excuse. I get busy in my day. I get, sidetracked with other things, but I probably say a half a dozen times a month, I don't know why I'm not doing yoga every day. And I feel like once I started to learn about it, where you and I first met at the Wind Horse, that to me was when I first started learning about yoga and taking yoga classes. And it just was an opening and learning how my body is trapping energy. It may not always be in the right place. So through that breathing technique or the stretching or the bending, it really felt amazing. And I even attended some chair yoga classes there, like when in my early days of just learning, I was like, I don't know that I can do all what I'm watching people do on the floor, but there's always a place to start. We always have to start somewhere. And so you were talking about peeling back the layers, right? And how you started in that journey for yourself, like really trying to figure out what are some tips. Do you recall some tips? I know you're further in your journey now. So what are some tips maybe that you recall in the early years that worked for you that maybe somebody that's just starting out wants to take some advice and might even benefit from?
I think the two most important questions a person can answer for themselves, like critical, I think we have to answer these questions if we have any hope of living a truly awake, fulfilling life. And that is, who am I and why am I here? And if we can't answer those two questions, we're going to be searching and searching and searching. We're going to be looking for it in the food cabinet. We're going to be looking for it in online shopping. We're going to be looking for it in relationships that don't serve us. We're going to be looking for it in a bottle of wine. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people, because they don't know where to look. Like a lot of people, they know something's missing, but they don't know what it is. And they don't know where to even start to figure out what that might be. And so that's why I wrote the book. The book is a 12-chapter guided journey of self-discovery, where it starts with the relationship with ourselves and those questions, who am I and why am I here? And I can say for me, those were critical questions. And I always begin my work with people, whether I'm coaching people in a group or one-on-one, it always starts there. And journaling. Journaling is such an incredible, it's a conversation with yourself. And becoming your own best friend, if you think about it, what do you do when we want to talk about something, we want to process something, we want to think something through, we pick up the phone and call a friend.
Are you journaling every day?
I sometimes journal every day and I go through periods, I've gotten so accustomed to it that I just pull it out when I need to. It's a really great tool for awareness. And it's kind of like, it's like meditation. You can meditate every single day for 30 minutes. And then you get to a point where you're kind of living your meditation. You're kind of bringing that state into everything that it is that you do. So, not to say that you can stop meditating at some point or that you need to stop journaling, but it's there when you need it. When I'm really struggling with something, or I feel like I can't quite figure out what I need to do or what's bothering me, or, I pull out my journal and I just start a stream of consciousness conversation with myself. And so
that seems pretty smart, because it seems like it would get me out of my own way, right? It would help, because a lot of times the shit's just jumbling in there, right? It's just floating around and I can't see the forest through the trees kind of thing. And it seems like it could be beneficial. I might even try that. Just, it's funny. I have this little binder next to my bed, because a lot of times when I lay my head down to sleep is when I have the clarity. I get these very clear moments and I have ideas and thoughts, and I find just getting them out of my way is the best thing to do. So it makes sense that it would be the same way, right? I'm getting those thoughts, maybe those daily thoughts out of there. So that was a good tip. Thanks for sharing that. I think I'm going to try journaling a little bit more, maybe on a more of a daily habit.
It is a great daily habit. And what I usually recommend to people is make a routine out of it, right? Make a routine out of it and say, okay, I'm going to put aside 30 minutes, and you can light a candle, make yourself a cup of tea, get comfortable with your journal. And then that's quality, like me time. Like that is your relationship with yourself. When we talk about self-care, people think self-care is like taking a bubble bath or going and getting a pedicure. And those are wonderful things. But I don't think there's anything that beats like being in a like curious, loving, thoughtful relationship with yourself.
And sometimes I know for me, I find that I'm trying to take care of the to-do list before I take care of myself. And honestly, if my foundation isn't strong, how am I going to support all the things that I need to do in the day? And when I feel like days are feeling a little chaotic or they're feeling a little stressful, it's like, okay, what am I ignoring? And usually when I ask that question, I'm ignoring, eating better food. I'm ignoring movement. I'm ignoring some self-care. And it's hard. I think it's harder, and probably every generation would say it, but I feel like, as we're getting more technology in our life and this feeling of multitasking and more information, that it does become a little bit harder to carve that time out for ourselves, because we can be easily distracted. And I speak from my self experience, but I'm guessing that, whoever is listening today is probably nodding their head in agreement that it is a little bit harder to make that time. But self-care is so dang important.
I think we have to do it first. You know how like financial advisors tell you to pay yourself first. I mean, make sure you're putting money away in savings. Same thing. My mornings are so valuable to me that I don't let anything get in the way of my mornings. I get up in the morning, and so you asked me if I journal. I write every day. Sometimes it's a journal where it's me reflecting, and sometimes it's me writing and it's a blog or an article or something like that. So I do write every day, but that's what I do in the morning. That's my morning, routine. First thing I do, I have my cup of coffee. I sit, because my mind is not cluttered yet with the to-do lists and all of that. It's still pretty calm and quiet. And I'm writing.
Are you typing, or are you physically like pencil in hand?
When I wrote my book, I physically wrote that entire book, and then I would type it up. Yeah. And then I realized that sometimes I was having trouble keeping up with my thoughts, and it would get really scribbly, and I would go back to read it later, and I was trying to figure out what I had written down. So I do a lot of like voice journaling. Like sometimes even when I'm walking the dogs, something will come up and I will do a voice memo into my phone. And I've written entire articles that way. Like by the time I get done walking the dogs, I've written an article. So whatever works.
Wow. Now, Is that voice app that you're using, is that something that transcribes
No,
later?
it's just a memo on my phone, and I just hit the little microphone and I talk into it, and it's amazing. Really, honestly, I feel like it changed my life when I finally figured that one out. Because I used to.
I'm thinking that right now, that like, oh my God, maybe I need to be voicing some of this stuff instead, because I'm very much a textile person. I still use, I use my pencil every day. This was my dad's pencil. And to me, it's even more special, right? He's not here anymore. And of course, it's refillable. But I mean, I'm very tactile like that. But it does. My brain is working faster than my hand can kind of put the words to the paper.
It took a little bit of adjustment for me to like make that leap. But then when I did, I was like, whoa, now writing something down feels so archaic and slow. So you're going to.
It is.
It is. So yeah. So mornings, I would say, if you're having trouble fitting it into your day, do the important stuff first. Get up in the morning. So this is what I do. I get up, I write, and then I take my dogs for a walk. So we usually do 3 miles because I'm like, they need the exercise. I need the exercise. And again, that's my me time. I'm moving energy. And a lot of times somewhere in that walk, I get an idea and I start talking into my phone. And then on a good day, I come back and I actually will do 30 or 40 minutes of yoga. So I wanted to say something to you about that. You don't have to do yoga every single day, because that's overwhelming. Because if we're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I have to do it every single day, that feels like a really insurmountable goal. But if we just get started with doing yoga, do a practice, say, you know what, I'm going to start doing yoga on Wednesday nights. I'm going to have a date night with myself, or Wednesday mornings if mornings work better for you. Wednesday is going to be my morning where I do yoga. And then what's going to happen is you're going to enjoy the way that feels so much that organically what will probably happen is, you know what, I think I want to start doing this twice a week. And then you might decide to do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Wednesdays and Fridays, and just let it happen organically. Like everything else in our life, for you and me, that's the way everything has really been. It's been an organic evolution. Let the same thing be the case with your yoga practice. And if it feels right, it'll become a daily practice because you love it, not because I should be doing this every single day, right?
Just like everything else, right? When you really love it, you make time for it and you work that into somehow you find the time. We always find the time to do things that we put priority to.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, I have found that for some people, it's difficult or challenging to do yoga. Even an hour of yoga is challenging for people to make happen. So you'd be surprised at how much you can accomplish in 30 minutes. So if 30 minutes is what you got, get on the mat, do some breathing, do some stretching, move intuitively, pay attention to what your body is asking for, and you'd be surprised at what you get out of that. I'm starting a sustainable yoga series on my YouTube channel that there are going to be 30-minute practices for the exact reason that we're talking about.
You were like reading my mind, because I was just going to say to you, who can I pull up on YouTube? Because we do have a little television, and when COVID hit, we turned, because we didn't want to go to the gym anymore, like a lot of people. And we turned our spare bedroom into this kind of mini gym for ourselves. And we got a little TV in there, and that would be the perfect place for me to pull up a YouTube channel. And I'm more of because I'm not comfortable with a lot of the positions, to remind myself how to kind of flow from one to the other. Or I'm pretty much like, I know downward dog, like that's the one I do probably every day, because I do get on the floor every day. And when I pick myself back up, I go into a downward dog and I stay there for a little bit. And then I, get up in, what's it called, where you like lift your hands over your head? It's like the sun pose. Yeah, sun salutation. I usually go into that. And so I find such great joy in it. So when you get your YouTube channel going with the daily yoga, I would love to tune into that. So be sure to let me know. We'll be sure to pass it on and let other people know.
Absolutely. I already have the YouTube channel. I have several yoga practices there already. But what I'm getting ready to do, in fact, I have a 30-minute practice that I'm getting ready to post probably by Monday. So if you haven't already gone there, go, find me on YouTube, Erica Boucher, and go ahead and subscribe, because I will be putting new content up there all the time. And so this is where it gets challenging, because I want to tell people where to find me. And everything is I'm currently going through this rebrand, right? So I have a podcast called Always Evolving, the Always Evolving podcast. I have a YouTube channel that is Erica Boucher Empath Yoga. And then I have, again, I've had all these different evolutions of my business. And so finally I just realized, because a friend of mine said, she's like, it kind of seems like you're all over the place. But for me, I know that's not the case. Like, I can see how all of this ties together. And so that's when I realized I need to come up with one umbrella name.
That makes sense.
So the long and the short of it is, my YouTube channel, if you type in Erica Boucher, you will always find me. But he's going under a rebrand. So my YouTube channel is probably going to, it's going to be Erica Boucher, Sustainable Travel Yogi, the podcast. Everything's going through a rebrand as we speak. And so the best way to find me is always going to be Erica Boucher or Sustainable Travel Yogi. It'll all get you there. But
I'm definitely going to go to your YouTube channel and like and subscribe. And I am definitely going to check out some of your yoga. I think that that's great that I can not only follow somebody, that I know, which is even cooler when you're watching YouTube, but, it'll kind of get me in that mindset of let me just start taking more self-care for myself, because that's really what it comes down to. If we're going to grow, and I don't feel like you're all over the place. I feel like you're going up another rung in life. You're just, and that's how it's showing up for you in these different, I guess, evolutions or rungs of the ladder.
More and more layers and getting down to the core truth. And that's the showing up naked piece. So the thing I want to say is, I would love for you to join me on a trip. And whether it's the Rhine River Yoga Cruise, and the year after that, in 2023, I'm going to be doing a river cruise, a yoga cruise in Provence, in France. Yeah. Right smack in the middle of lavender season.
Oh, okay. I'm totally going to that. And I'm saying it right on audio and video today that I am going on that trip. Awesome. Definitely. So your Rhine River trip, I think is, you said September of 2022?
August 1st through the 8th of 2022.
Okay. I don't think I can make that, only because I'm going to Sicily in October of 2022. Yes. We're going to our ancestral village. My mom and I are finally doing it. Our ancestors come from Alia in Sicily, and we're finally getting to go and meet some distant cousins and things like that. So
that's really great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Provence, maybe that one in 2023 will.
Oh, so is that one listed on your website yet, or is that kind of still in the works right now?
It's in the works, but it's all that's about to hit on the website. I already have the dates picked out and everything, but what's happening is right now I've got this major launch going on with the Rhine River Yoga Cruise. And for people who register by June 30th, they save $1,000 per person. So I'm kind of keeping all of the focus on that right now to get people into that one. Okay. And then after July 1st, people can still book into the Rhine River Yoga Cruise after July 1st, but the cost is just it's going to be a little more expensive because that promotion is going to be gone. But, and I also wanted to say that I have, for people, you mentioned something about the cost of being able to afford to travel. And I'm also getting ready to launch a travel club where people can make payments toward trips. And that way they don't have to come each other all at once. So there's so much going on. The best thing I could suggest is go to ericaboucher.com or go to sustainabletravelyogi.com and sign up for my newsletter. And I'm always putting out free guided meditations, free yoga practices, all kinds of goodies. I'm really generous.
I think I'm going to take advantage of your generosity and sign up for your newsletter, because I don't think that I get your newsletter. So I'm definitely going to do that as well. I mean, you have shared such good stuff today. And I feel like even for myself that I have grown a little bit more today because now I feel like I've got a few more tools in my toolbox that are going to be able to help me to feel a little bit better each day and, getting more accomplished, even though it's not about getting stuff done. To me, getting stuff accomplished is about feeling better. It's about, growing in my life each day. I don't want to be stagnant. I've got limited number of days on this earth, and I want to be able to enjoy those in my maximum health that I can enjoy. Things are going to happen and I'm going to get older and, but the best I can do is stay as healthy as I can. And some of what you shared today is going to help me to be a little bit kinder to my body and stay a little bit healthier in my mind. And so I thank you for sharing
thank
this
you.
today.
Thank you so much for having me, Angie. I really appreciate it.
Of course. It's been a really great discussion. And so I know that you're transitioning into, this larger sustainability thread. So when we air this episode, we'll be sure to list, your current URL and your websites to where people can find you. But I think that if anybody types in Erica Boucher, which is Boucher, Erica Boucher, that you will come across a wealth of information. Because like she said, she puts so much stuff out there for free that, you can definitely tap into something. And I highly recommend that people buy your book. I know it's got a new cover on it. You won't be able to see. And I think, there she is in the back. It's not really Erica naked so much anymore, but it's still a beautiful cover and a well-written book. So I really encourage people to check out your book as well. It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, and you can also get it through my website. And if you get through my website, I actually am offering a free 30-minute coaching session. So if anybody wants to kick the tires and see if it's a good fit, or even if they just have one question that they would love to have answered, we can do that out.
That is fantastic that you're giving your time as well. So skip that thing I said about the A word and go directly to her website and buy the book there and get in touch with Erica because she is just a fantastic person. I'm so fortunate to know you in real life. And I hope that we are going to, make time to get some face-to-face now that Florida's opening up a little bit and we're all feeling a little bit more comfortable, even though we'll be sure to be safe. So I want to thank you, Erica, for being here today and making time to be on the Grateful Redhead podcast. And for those listening, if you enjoyed today's show, please go to all the platforms that you enjoy listening to a podcast and subscribe. We do put out a new episode about every 2 weeks. And I always try to have super cool people like Erica on my show. And if you know one of those people, be sure to send them to me, have them call me or reach out. I would love to get them on my show. So everybody, have a great day. And until we meet again, be kind to each other and love one another. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So before you go today, I want to thank you for listening to this episode. I've built a business on formulating natural household cleaning and body products without plastic bottles or plastic packaging. So if you'd like to give them a try, head on over to wastefreeproducts.com and use promo code Grateful Redhead for 10% off your entire order. Thanks for listening.